Already mic testing, mic testing. Okay, perfect. Let me go to my main camera. Alright, we're live. And guys, it took me really long to like get here because like I was actually doing something. I forgot to set my mic up. That said, today, as you guys can tell by the title and thumbnail, I'm going to be working on some game logic in SDL3 using C++. That said, last stream and for the past 4 streams, I have been working on text rendering on my display using key inputs. That said, this stream I didn't like go for something a new topic or something because like I do like have what you call my post assessment work for my college and also an exam this Monday, so I thought I'll take it a bit light today because I did not have time to think of anything. Okay, that's it. This is the chat from last stream. Let me say something like, let's say a live exclamation. Okay, let's see. Okay, let me actually mute myself from here. Okay, that said, I am going to be working on the stuff. This is like basically a review stream what I've been doing before because once my college is actually over, then I'm going to have like more time to actually come up with new contents. Okay, that said, why is it taking so long to think? Let's see, maybe because I say something like, let's say live. Okay guys, I think this should work. It's probably because I have been using this chat for like I think 2 or 3 days now or 2 or 3 streams now. Okay, that's it, chat. Attention, your pupil has returned to the arena and that means the real training begins again right now, guys. I did not think today is considered real training. He's balancing college finals and game development like a madman and still shows up to code live in front of all of you. This is the kind of discipline that carves legends, so hype him up, keep him sharp, and don't let him slack for even a second because today we build skills, we break limits, and we make the future game one step closer to reality. Welcome back to the dojo. Let the grind continue. Alright people, what are you working on today? Let me say something like, since I have my post assessment tomorrow and let's see, and my finals this Monday, I will be working on some game logic, so I'll write code and then send it to you. Okay, so it's basically just like writing a code and like reviewing all that stuff. That's it. Let's see, guys. It does take really long for this chat to load because I think this is a pretty old chat. Okay, that's it. Let's see. Okay, does it even like say anything? What if I refresh it? Okay, maybe it does not. So I'm gonna exit and say /chat from there. That's it. This is the code from last stream where I did like actually display a window. Let me actually show you guys what what happens if I like run this code. I get my first window here, and I get my second window as well. It's taking a bit to load because like I just opened my Visual Studio. That's it. The second code is here. If I type something, it types on my window. If I hit enter, it goes to my terminal right here. Guys, from where did the third terminal come? What's Notion Capture? Okay, honestly, I haven't like heard of the Northern Capture. There we go. So if I type something and then I hit enter, you guys can see it in my console. Alright, perfect. That's it. Hello, how are you hiding? Agus, I appreciate you joining this stream. That's it. I'm going to go ahead and Control A to copy the code, and then let's go ahead and delete everything. Now, firstly, let me go ahead and start off by including something. I'm going to include IO stream, and guys, I think I should have like copied the code before I actually deleted it, so I do get whatchamacallit, in case I messed up something and I had to like get my code back. That's it. Maybe I'll like watch my streams later. That said, now, once I'm done including IO stream, I'm going to be including SDL3 as well because I will be using SDL3. So I'm going to go ahead and include SDL3 and SDLs as header files. Once I'm done with that, I am going to be rendering texture on my screen. So I'm going to be including the TDF as well, which is true texture font. I can see the code screen. Oh, guys, have I been in my main camera this whole time? What up, guys? There we go. Alright, guys, I guess I've been in my main camera all this time. That was kind of weird. Okay, that said, basically, let me just go with a bunch of Control Z's. Okay, so this was the code from last stream because I didn't have time to work on this code off stream. That's it. I'm going to go ahead and hit Control A and delete everything. Now, let me start off by including a prop ankle braces. I want to include IO stream. Hiding hard. I appreciate you joining the stream, and I also appreciate you like pointing that out because later when I rewatch my stream, I'll be like, I've been in my main camera the whole time. Okay, that's it. Next up, let me go ahead and include a pair of ankle braces again. I'm going to include SDL3/SDL.h, which is SDL2 and SDLs as header files. And then let's go ahead and include SDL3 _ TDF. So I'm going to include SDL3's true texture font. slash SDL's true text SDL underscore true texture font dot h, which is true texture fonts with header files. How's it going? It's actually going pretty good. I have my I have my post assessment tomorrow and like my finals this Monday, so kind of excited for that. That said, let me go ahead and include string as well because I will be using these strings as library. And lastly, let's go ahead and include vectors too because I do want to store my text somewhere. So I'm going to go with something like vector. This is going to work with like message history type stuff. That's it. Now let's go ahead and create. Okay, I'm thinking of firstly create a class. So I'm firstly going to create a class for my chat box or for my chat. This is going to be what my user actually types. Then I'm going to go with the pair of curly braces. Now, in my chats class, I'm going to go ahead and have a few private data members. Let's see what our private data members might I need. Let's see. Okay, so for the private data members, what would my class need? I think my class would need maybe a render, a font, and all that stuff. But before that, I might need something like SDL underscore texture. Okay, so I'm going to be creating a text textures surface. There we go. Actually, a text textures texture, if that makes any sense. Okay, honestly, I forgot this part. So I'm going to go ahead and publicize everything. I'm going to be adding the, the private content later if I like remembered what to do here. That's it. Now for my public, do I need a constructor? I'm pretty sure I need a constructor for my chat. Or do I? Guys, I did not have time to review any of my code like off stream because I've been working on my college stuff. That's it. Let's go with something like constructor. Okay, now for my constructor, let's go ahead and create a constructor for my chats class. That does require, let's say, one parameter of my SDL underscore render. Okay, and then I'm going to go with an asterisk to a render as this pointer. So it requires a render parameter. Would it require anything else? Let me think. I don't think so. Maybe just render. That said, I'm going to go with the pair of curly braces. Now, inside of my class, I'm going to go ahead and do something. There's honestly nothing to initialize here. Do you guys think I might not need a constructor here? Instead, I might need functions. I could try that. Let's go ahead and create a void function. I'm going to go with something like a void function for maybe display message. So I might go with something like a display text. Okay, and then I'll go with the pair of parentheses. My display text's void function will require the SDL underscore renders as parameter with an asterisk to a renders as variable. Then I go with the pair of curly braces. Now my display text is going to have a few parameters. The first parameter is going to be a texture. So I'm going to go with something like SDL underscore textures as structure. That consists of something like a text textures as surface. There we go. Okay, and then I'm going to be setting this equal to, let's say, I might go with something like, okay, maybe I go with the SDL underscore creates texture from surface function. And since I am using the create texture from surface function, I need to create a surface as well. Okay, I go with the pair of parentheses. Now, before I do add a parameter here of my surface, I do need to create a surface. So let's go ahead and create a surface. Guys, I think I just jogged my memory up. I will need another parameter of a font here as well. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore or TDF underscore fonts structure. So I'm going to go with something like TDF underscore font with an asterisk to a font's pointer. Now, once I'm done with that, I'm going to go ahead and create a color. So I'm going to use the SDL underscore colors structure, which has a color local variable representing it. That is going to be equal to a pair of curly braces. Maybe it's not going to be a pointer of colors. There we go. Okay, a pair of curly braces. Let's say I want my text's color to be black. So I'm going to go with something like 00235. Because it does require an RGBA value, which is technically red, blue, and green. That is the RGB. And A stands for alpha/opacity, how transparent or how not transparent I want my color to be. In this case, I want my black to not be transparent at all. And then I enter with a semicolon. Once I'm done creating a color, I'm going to go ahead and create a surface. So I'm going to go with SDL underscore surface structure with an asterisk to something like my text surface. Okay, now my surface is going to be equal to the TDF underscore render text underscore blended function. Okay, now my TDF underscore vendor text blended function does require a few parameters. It requires a font, it requires a text, it requires a length, and it requires a color. With that said, I am going to be requiring, let's say, something like a string, like whatchamacallit, a constant string parameter of something like input text. This is going to be the stuff that my user actually types in. So I'm going to be setting this to be an empty quote, because whenever my user types something, I'm going to be like, whatchamacallit, adding that inside of my pair of quotes here, if that makes any sense. Okay, that's it. Now, for my render text underscore blended, I firstly require my font parameter. So I'm going to use my font parameter. The second is going to be my text parameter. It is a constant text. So constant text is basically something like hello. Although I want it to always be changing, so I'm going to be using my input text. But my input text is just a standard string. It's not a constant string. To convert this to a constant string, I could use the .c underscore str's this function. This is where the string library comes in use, because the C string converts my regular string to be now a constant string. Then I'm gonna go with a comma, and the next parameter is a length. Honestly, I don't have a length, so I'm gonna set that to be equal to 0. And the final parameter is gonna be a color, so I'm gonna set that equal to my colors this parameter here. And then I end my surface with a semicolon. Now, whatchamacallit, I'm gonna be checking if my surface was created properly. If it was, then I'm gonna do something. So I'm gonna go with something like if surface, if text surface, that is my surface's name. So if my text surface, there we go. Okay, so if my text surface was created properly, I'm gonna firstly go ahead and create a texture. So I get my texture right under this. Okay, now for my texture, I require two parameters. The first parameter is going to be my renderer. The second parameter is going to be my surface. Okay, it is going to be text surface, guys. I keep forgetting the name. There we go. Okay, and that's actually pretty much it for this part. So firstly, I created a input text variable, and then I created a color for my text. I created a surface for my text. I created a texture for my text. Now I want to render my texture on my screen / display my texture on my window. To do that, I could first get the width and height of my text, because I don't want to just use a random width and height to stretch my text out. Bro, why using SDL? Honestly, I feel like it is a pretty good practice in general to use SDL to learn C++ or any general stuff. Okay, are you creating a game? Honestly, I am working on game logic where I do input text on my window, if that makes any sense. Okay, that's it. Next up, I'm gonna go ahead and create two floating point variables. The first is gonna be my textures' width. The second is gonna be my textures' height, and then I end it with a semicolon. You should use OpenGL for more performance. Honestly, I'm not actually using SDL for performance. I'm using it to actually learn the language, what happens behind the scenes and everything. Because SDL does require more programming in general, but I feel it is much better for practice. Okay, is this for a school project? Honestly, no. This is just because I have a program for 250 series where my goal by the end of the series is to make a game in general that consists of AI logic in it, if that makes any sense, guys. Now, SDL3 or 2, honestly, it is SDL3. That's it. Now, once I'm done creating a floating point width and a floating point height variable, I'm going to go ahead and use the SDL underscore get texture sizes function. This function is going to get my texture size, but it does require a few parameters. The first parameter is going to be my texture, which in this case is my text's texture. The second parameter is going to be the memory address of my textures' width. The third parameter is going to be the memory address of my texture's height. And maybe I fixed my typo here. There we go. And then I end my function with a semicolon. Now I'm going to be creating a direction rect, because apparently our text or any kind of texture in general is inside of a rectangle or a square. So I'm going to be creating that square. Okay, what is your IQ minus -404? Okay, guys, I think that was a programming joke, -404. That said, guys, I feel like my IQ is not more than 50. Okay, that's the next step. I'm gonna go ahead and create a SDL or use the SDL underscore fRex structure. This structure consists of all my rex's attributes. I'm going to be creating a DST rect / a direction rect, ending with a semicolon. Now let's fill in a few attributes. I'm going to go with something like dstrect.x-axis equals to 100, ending with a semicolon, and then a dstrect.y-axis, which is going to be equal to 100 as well, ending with a semicolon. Then I go with a dstrect.width, which is gonna be my textures is width ending with a semicolon. And then lastly a my dst rect dot height, which is going to be my textures is height ending with a semicolon. Now once I'm done with getting my textures of width and height, creating a rectangle, I'm finally going to be displaying my text on my window. To do that, I could go ahead and use the SDL underscore render textures as function. This function is basically me telling my render to render a texture on my screen, but it does require like a bunch of parameters. The first parameter is going to be my renderer, so I'm going to go with renderer. The second parameter, I'm assuming, is going to be my texture. It is going to be my texture, so I'm going to go with something like text texture. And then the third parameter is going to be a source rect. Since I don't have a source rect, I'm going to be setting that to be null PDR. Lastly, my fourth parameter is going to be a DST like that I did create here. This is technically, under my SDL underscore f rexes function where my rectangle is going to be located at. That's it. I'm going to go with the memory address of my DST rect. Okay, perfect. That's pretty much it. Now let's go ahead and end my function with a semicolon. Okay, now since I did create texture and surface, we do gotta destroy that stuff, because in like C++, whenever you create something, you do gotta destroy it. So I'm gonna go with something like SDL underscore destroy texture with a pair of parentheses. This is gonna be my text textures as parameter. Let's go with something like text texture, ending with a semicolon. Okay guys, I think I spelled destroy wrong. Okay, I'm a pro in HTML. That actually sounds kind of cool. I honestly do want to learn HTML soon as well. Okay, that's it. Once I'm done destroying my texture inside my if statement, I'm going to go outside my if statement and destroy my surface as well, because I did create a surface. So I'm going to go ahead and use the SDL underscore destroy surfaces, which we call it function with a pair of parentheses. That is going to be my text surface. Okay, perfect. Then I go ahead and end my entire function with a semicolon. Okay, once I'm done with my display text function, because this is pretty much it, this is all I need to like display my text on my window, I'm going to go ahead and create another function now. My second function is going to be another void function, but this time a function for my message history. So I'm going to go with something like text history. Okay, because apparently I do want to like save my text history. I don't want it to like just be deleted into the shadow realm. So I'm going to go with something, how do you spell history? There we go, text history with a pair of parentheses. Now my text histories function is going to be requiring a parameter of the SDL underscore events SDL. This structure consists of all my SDLs as events. Although I'm going to go with something like a constant SDL underscore events SDL, which is going to be having the memory address of my event. Then I go with a pair of curly braces. Okay, my biggest flex is I can write hello world without AI in HTML, because I feel like, yeah guys, I think that would make sense, because like I don't know how to write HTML, but I feel like writing hello world without AI is actually easy. Like you in Python, you just go with like print hello world. In like C++, you include IOStream, then go with the main function and type standard console output with an insertion operator of hello world and pair of double quotes and another insertion operator of a standard end line or a / new line. Okay, that's it. Next up, for my text histories function, I'm gonna go ahead and let's see, what all might I need here? So apparently what my text history is for, when I go ahead and use my text history, I want my user to store my input, whatever I type, inside of this variable right here, inside of my text inputs as variable. When I hit backspace, actually, maybe I go with something like a text event. My text history might come later. I might go with something like text event. So I'll go with something like a text event. This is going to be storing my whatever I type inside of my variable. When I hit backspace, I want to delete what I typed, or like if I click backspace once, I want to delete one alphabet at a time. If I hit enter, I want to display that on my screen while also storing my stuff in my memory, if that makes any sense. Why do programmers prefer dark mode? Because light attracts bugs. Honestly, I feel like dark mode is kind of good for my eyes. Okay, that's it. I'm gonna go ahead and let's see. Okay, let's go ahead and use a few event checks. So firstly, I'm gonna go ahead and check if a pair of parentheses. Let's say if my SDL underscore event underscore text underscore input. Okay, so okay, hold up guys. So there we go. Guys, I just had to wait for my mind to actually jumpstart real quick. Okay, so if my event dot type equals to SDL underscore event underscore text underscore input, if something has been typed in my keyboard, then I'm gonna go ahead and do something. Firstly, there we go. Okay, firstly, I want to go ahead and append that to my input text variable. So I'm going to go with input text plus equals to my event.text.text. This is the exact text that I'm actually typing in my keyboard that's going to be stored inside this variable. Then I end it with a semicolon. Bro, what is SQL and what's the difference? I'm confused. Yeah, SDL and SQL is the same, bro. I'm so dumb. Guys, I don't think SDL and SQL is different. So far as I've heard, SQL is like the memory of our program. Like if you use like SQL in any of our codes, and that acts like a brain. Like, fact check me, guys. Okay, give me a shout out. How do you think, Dexter? I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, that's it. Next up, I'm gonna add my second event check. I'm gonna go with something like if a prof parentheses. Let's say something like if my event dot type equals to SDL underscore event underscore key underscore down. This event type checks if any of my keyboard buttons are currently being pushed down. Then I'm gonna do something. Okay, bro, big fan. Please shout out my name. Hiding Sire. Appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, that's it. I'm gonna go ahead and use switches here. But before I do use switches, I'm gonna use the SDL underscore key codes structure, which is going to be having a key local variable representing it. That is going to be equal to my event.key.key. Then I go ahead and end that with a semicolon. Good stuff, bro. Honestly, I appreciate you, Razgum. Dude, what is that dude, where is that accent from? I think it is like I actually don't know, guys. Okay, that said, once I'm done creating my structure here, I'm gonna go ahead and use switches now. Honestly, you guys could use if statement, but I feel switches looks a bit more cleaner. That said, my switch is going to be having a parameter of my key. Then I go with a pair of curly braces. Now, for my first case, I'm going to go ahead and check if my SDL's key is a backspace. So I'm going to go with something like backspace. If my user click backspace in my keyboard, then I want to do something. I'm going to check, is my window empty or is something still typed, which technically means is something registered inside of my input text. So I'm going to check if not input text dot empty. If my input text is not empty, then I'm going to go ahead and do something. I'm going to go with a pair of curly braces, and then let's go with something like my input text variable dot be pop underscore back function. I'm going to be removing one alphabet at a time per backspace click, ending with a semicolon. Okay, good night. If I become CEO of Google, I'll hire you. Honestly, guys, that actually does mean the world to me, Ox. That said, good night, sweet dreams. Make sure to get your 8 hours of sleep tonight. Okay, that's it. That's actually pretty much it for my first case. So I'm gonna go ahead and exit my case. Let's go ahead and create another case. For my case 2, I'm gonna check if my SDL's key is, let's say, return. Return basically means enter if my enter is clicked on my keyboard. Then I'm gonna do something. Firstly, I wanna add a standard console output with an insertion operator that says something like I don't know, let's go with something like player typed. So I'm gonna go with something like player typed, and then I'll add another insertion operator. Player type my input text. Whatever is registered inside of my input text, that is what my player types. I am going to be displaying that on my window. Then I'm going to go with another insertion operator of a standard end line, ending with a semicolon. Once I'm done with that, I do want to store my input text in my window before I do actually delete it. Okay, why is bro looking like an Indian and talking like an American? Guys, that actually kind of surprises me as well. That said, now I'm going to go ahead and create a vector. So let's go ahead and create a vector inside of my function. This vector is going to be for storing all my event types, like whatever my user types. Maybe I go ahead and create a vector outside of my if statement. Let's create it somewhere here. So I'm going to go ahead and create a standard vector. Okay, hold up guys, there we go. Okay, a standard vector with a pair of anchor braces that only consists of standard string. My vector is going to be called, did I spell vector wrong? P-E-C-T-O-R, okay, that consists of standard strings. I think I spelled my vector correct. Okay, did I think I include vector correct as well. Why the bad quality? Guys, I feel the stream's quality is pretty good. I think like you should like try restarting, because like many of you guys did say me that there's sometimes like my streams are kind of blurry, but then that is just because you guys gotta like restart your device or like the stream. Okay, that's it. Did I spell vector correct? V-E-C-T-O-R. I think I spelled it correct. What up, guys? How old are you, bro? Honestly, I am 17 years old. That's it. I am going to be turning 18 really soon, guys. Kind of excited for that. My birthday is the January 5th. Okay, let's go with the prof. Ankle braces. My standard vector is only going to be consisting of standard string. Okay, and my vector is going to be called, let's say something like message or text history. I'm going to go with something like text history. There we go. Okay, that fixed the issue. And then I'm gonna go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Now, once I'm done creating a vector, when my user displays something on my window, I want to store it on my vector. So I'm gonna go with something like my text history is vector. So I'm gonna go with text history dot the push underscore back function. I want to push back something inside of my text history. I want to push back my input text, and then I go ahead and end my function with a semicolon. Now, once I'm done with that, once I did push something inside of my history, I do wanna let's say something like I don't know, maybe I want to clear my vector because I don't want anything to be inside of my vector once it has been registered inside of my history. So I'm going to go with something like input text.clear with a prof parentheses ending with a semicolon. And that's actually pretty much it. Hello, sir. How you doing, Calsman here? I appreciate you joining the stream. How you doing? Honestly, I'm doing pretty good. How you doing, Calsman here? Okay, that's it. I do want to add another case because this is pretty much it for this case. And guys, a really important thing that I actually almost forgot is to add a break, because whenever you guys use cases or like switches in general, you guys do gotta make sure to actually add your break statement. So I'm gonna go ahead and add a break here as well. Okay, perfect. Now let's go ahead and add my let's say third case. My third case is gonna check if my SDL's key. So I'm gonna check if my SDL's key is something like H. If my user clicked H, then I want to do something. Firstly, I want to go ahead and use a for loop, so I'm going to go with something like for a prof parentheses. I'm going to be using a index-based for loop, so I'm going to go with something like for every integer of I, which equals to 0, while my I is less than my text history's vector, dot the size function. Okay, so while my I is less than my vector's size, I'm going to go ahead and do something. I'm going to increment my I by 1, and then I go with the prof curly braces. Now, inside my for loop, I'm going to go ahead and add a standard console output with an insertion operator that, I don't know, maybe say something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 hyphens. And I'm going to go ahead and add a / new line. Okay, and then I go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Guys, this is just for like decoration. I'm going to go ahead and copy that. Let's go ahead and paste one all the way here as well. This is for the ending. Now, between my two decoration type stuff, guys, I'm going to go ahead and add another standard console output with an insertion operator. This is going to say something like message history. So I'm going to go with something like message history. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and maybe would it look better if I like delete like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'll go with something like history. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, then I'm gonna go with something like 8, 9, 10. Alright, perfect. So I say something like history, and then instead of going with something like message history here, I'm just gonna be going with my, let's say something like, would it look better if I actually add something like a hyphen? Okay, I might actually add a hyphen, guys, here. And then I'm going to go with another insertion operator and display my text histories as vector. So let's go with something like text history at index of I with another insertion operator of a standard endline ending with a semicolon. And guys, basically, half of these things weren't even like necessary, like adding that in this here. I just added for like some decorations. That's it. That's pretty much it. And then I'm going to go ahead and break since this is a case. Okay, perfect. Ending with a semicolon. Bro, what kind of game/app are you making, bro? Honestly, I'm not like making like an actual game/app, but this is somewhat like it because I am going to be adding different kind of textures on my screens, like PNGs on my screens. That is like going to be automated as well, and I might actually add collision logic too today. And I'm also adding like texture, so if I type something, I have like a chat box type stuff which has message history on my keyboard. Okay, that's actually pretty much that's actually pretty much it for my chat class. So I'm gonna go all the way down here. Let's see, this is gonna be my text events. Okay, these are my text event. That's actually pretty much it. Next up, I'm gonna go ahead and create another class. My second class is gonna be, okay, should I go ahead and create a derived class? Hello brother, what is your go-to Burger King order? Guys, I actually don't prefer eating fast foods. I prefer like making stuff at home and eating, because guys, I feel that's kind of healthy for the health. Okay, that's it. So I'm gonna go with something like class. Now for my class, I'm gonna go ahead and create, let's say, something like a devil class, because I do have a devil PNG with a pair of maybe I create a character class, because I'll firstly go ahead and create a physics bodies as class, because I do want to apply gravity as well. So I'll go with something like physics bodies as class with a pair of curly braces. Now, my physics bodies as class, will it have any private data members? Let's think. So I might go with something like private. Okay, how much time did it take you to learn programming? Honestly, C++ took me about like, today's the day 80th of, actually today's the day 76 of me actually learning C++ in general. That's it. I have been like programming for like 180 days, because I did spend like 100 days or 104 days learning Python. Okay, that's it. Now for my private data members, I can't think of any private data members right now, so I'm gonna leave that for later. Instead, I'm gonna go with something public. Now for my public, I'm gonna go ahead and add a comment here that says something like constructor. Okay guys, I remember a private data member that I might need. I might need something like a floating point of gravity data member, because my physics body is going to be requiring gravity. I'm going to be setting my gravity to be equal to something like 5.0f ending with a semicolon. Hiding pixels, I appreciate you joining the stream. That's it. Once I'm done with gravity, what else would I need? I might actually need a floating point x-axis and y-axis velocity. So let's go ahead and create that in my public. I might go with something like floating point x-axis underscore velocity, which is going to be equal to 0 pixels per frame initially. And then floating point y-axis underscore velocity, which is going to be equal to 0 frames as well, ending with a semicolon. And then I'm going to go ahead and create a constructor for my physics bodies as class. And since this is a class, this is going to be a capital P. Let me go ahead and just copy that and then paste it here. There we go. Okay, now my physics bodies as class is going to be requiring 2 parameters, or let's say 4 parameters. The first parameter is going to be a floating point parameter of x-axis of my x-axis, and then a floating point of y-axis. Bro, which game engine are you using for this? Honestly, I'm not like using a game engine. I am using SDL3 though, because it does require more programming. I am like making this to understand how actually programming does work in general. That said, once I get into the programming mindset and I can like do this in a whim and I can like just think of these things, just make anything that I can actually imagine, that's when I am going to be moving on to like game engines, because they do make life much easier. That said, I'm going to be needing something like x-axis, y-axis, floating point width, and a floating point height. Then I go ahead and add a pair of curly braces here, P-H-Y-S-I-C, P-H-Y-S-I-C. Did I spell it wrong? P-H-Y-S-I-C. I think I spelled physics correct. Okay, hi doing, Wayhan, I appreciate you joining the stream. That said, once I'm done creating my physics bodies' parameters here, let's go ahead and do something. Firstly, I'm gonna go ahead and, let's see, okay, what are my physics body might need? My physics body could need a rect, so I'm gonna go ahead and create a rect as well. I might not need my velocities here. So before my constructor, I'm going to go ahead and create a SDL underscore frexes structure. This structure consists of all my rectangles as attributes. I'm going to set that to be rect ending with a semicolon. And then for my private data member, I might need texture as well. So I'm going to use the SDL underscore textures as structure, which is going to be representing a textures as local variable ending with a semicolon. Okay, pure talent to be honest. Guys, I actually don't think that. I think like I've been writing this so much that my muscle memory did actually get used to like actually writing this on whim. That's it, bro. Which algo OS best for moving player from one place to another? Honestly, I do like use automation for that. Okay, physics has S at the start. Physics has an S at the end. P-H-Y-S-I-C. Oh, I see. There we go. Okay, I could go with something like physics body, guys. I feel like my spellings are awful. That's enough for my physics bodies' constructor. Now that I've created my texture and my rect, I'm gonna go ahead and do something. I'm gonna go ahead and load a texture. And guys, if I sometimes talk slow like this, is because I'm thinking while I'm talking what I gotta do, because I actually don't remember. So I'm gonna go ahead and use the SDL. I'm gonna actually set my texture to be equal to, I might write this to be devil texture. I could go with something like devil texture. Okay, so let's go ahead and change this to be devil texture as well. So there we go. My devil texture is going to be equal to my SDL underscore. Was it the load textures as function? Load texture. Okay, it was not. I forgot the function name. Hold up, guys. If I go with control speed. Okay, I don't think it was SDL underscore load texture. I think it was something like image underscore load texture. Guys, I'm pretty sure this should work. Okay, let's go with something like texture load image underscore. I think it was something like texture load or load texture. What up, guys? How do I forget the function name? How doing, Hustler? How are you doing? Rise Gum, I appreciate you joining the stream. Are you in university? Honestly, I am like a freshman in college. How are you doing, Anya? I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, I remember it was something image. Okay, no wonder, guys, I did not load the file that actually does support loading images. So, after I'm done including my SDLs as TDF, I'm gonna go ahead and include a profile called Races. Let's go ahead and include SDL3 underscore image. So I'm gonna include the image library of SDL3 and also SDL underscore image.h, which is the header files for my SDL's image library. Guys, no wonder my function wasn't working. Now, I'm going to go with something like image underscore load textures function. There we go. That works. No wonder it was not working. Now, my image underscore load textures function does require two parameters. The first parameter is going to be my renderer. Second parameter is going to be my file. Okay, my renderer is going to be, let's say my SDL underscore renderer. Okay, I might need to add a parameter in my physics bodies as constructor. Oh, hold up, guys. Never mind. I would not actually need my devil's texture here because this is not my devil's class. This is my physics bodies class. So this requires the general stuff. Okay, you don't remember. You don't have to remember the name of all functions. You just Google it. That actually does make sense. I feel like remembering it does work the best for me because I can actually Google it as well, but I feel like that is kind of tough for me for some reason. Okay, why the function didn't work? Honestly, the function didn't work before because I did not load the library because I needed the image library if I wanted to use the image function. Okay, let's go with something like Control Z. There we go. Now, for my physics body, I'm gonna go ahead and firstly end my function with a semicolon here. And why did I need this parameter here? So my physics body, this class starts there, ends there. I don't need this parameter here. Okay, I do need it for my constructor. Why did I need this? I did not need that. There we go. Now, my physics bodies constructor is going to be having a general rex. So, should I get my rex's texture? I might go with something like textures is width, textures is height. Okay, let's actually try that. So, I'm going to go with something like a floating point. So, I'm going to go with something like floating point, textures is width, and floating point of my textures is height, ending with a semicolon. Once I'm done creating the two general variables that I'm going to be needing, I'm going to use the SDL underscore get texture size function. Okay, then I go with the parentheses. Now my get texture size function does require three parameters. The first parameter is going to be my texture. The second parameter, okay, this is going to be a lowercase t. There we go. The second parameter is going to be the memory address of my textures is width. The third parameter is going to be the memory address of my textures is height. Then I end my function with a semicolon. Okay, bro, you can also use stb underscore image. It's also good. Honestly, I haven't heard of that, but I might actually try that. Okay, now once I'm done getting my textures is width and my textures is height, I'm gonna go ahead and let's say set my rectangles as attributes. I'm gonna go with something like rect.x-axis equals to my x-axis parameter ending with a semicolon. Rect.y-axis equals to my y-axis parameter ending with a semicolon. Rect.width equals to my textures is width. And then I might need a scale as well. So my constructor could require, excuse me guys, a scales is parameter too. So I might go with something like, okay, here's the thing. I don't want a scales as parameter for my physics body, I want to scale this parameter for my objects. So I might just add my x-axis and y-axis here, not my textures and width and height. And that's like pretty much it for my constructor. Now I'm gonna go ahead and exit outside of my constructor, add a comment that says something like methods. I'm going to be adding a few general methods. For example, let's go with something like a void method of apply gravity. I'm going to be applying my gravity. Okay, now my apply gravity as a method is going to be requiring a parameter of my floor, because I do need a place where my player actually pulls my gravity pulls my player downwards. Okay, and this is going to be like a floating point floors parameter. And then I go with a pair of curly braces. Now I would need something like a floating point x-axis and y-axis. So I'm going to go with something like a floating point of x-axis underscore velocity, which is initially going to be 0, and then a floating point of y-axis underscore velocity, which is going to be 0 as well. And I did realize one thing. Since this is not my derived classes and this is my parent / my base class, this is not going to be a private data member. These are going to be protected data members. So the classes that inherit from my physics bodies as class can have access to these parameters as well. Okay, once I'm done with that, to add my gravity, firstly, I'm going to use the most basic as rule. I'm going to go ahead and increase my y-axis underscore velocity, my speed, by my acceleration, which is my gravity variable, ending with a semicolon. And then I'm going to go ahead and increase my position, which is my rex's x-axis, by my y-axis underscore velocity, ending with a semicolon. This is going to be rex's y-axis. So my y-axis is initially set to 0, so my player doesn't have any gravity, but it keeps adding by 0.5, so my player falls faster and faster every second, if that makes any sense, guys. Okay, now that I've added gravity, I do want to add landing as well, because my player does want to stop at some point, like he doesn't want to like fall infinitely. So I might go with something like an if statement. I'm gonna go with something like if my rect.y-axis, if my player's bottom is okay, if my rex's y-axis plus my rex's height is either greater than or equal to, is either higher than or at the same level as my floor's y-axis, then I'm gonna go ahead and do something. I'm gonna go with something like my reg.y-axis, my object's y-axis is gonna be equal to my floor's y-axis minus my floor's height. Okay, perfect. That's actually my rex's height. There we go. So my player is going to be staying above my my player is going to be staying above my floor, ending with a semicolon. Then I set my y-axis underscore velocity to be equal to 0, because I reset my y-axis underscore velocity. But you'll also need a delta time as a parameter. Honestly, I haven't like heard of that. Hi, what is the topic? Honestly, today's topic is just about basic game logic. I did not go for a new topic or anything, because like I do have my post assessment for my college tomorrow, and like my finals is Monday, so I did want to like learn something really advanced, because I do gotta like research a bit like on what topic should I next work on before I actually do start the topic. That's it, guys. I feel like I gotta like pass my exam tomorrow, because I do wanna honestly move on with a 4.0 GPA after a semester. Okay, what is delta time and what is he making? Honestly, I'm working on making like a basic game logic section that has like a chat box in it, and it has like different PNGs too. That's it. Now that I've created a void apply gravity method, I'm gonna go ahead and create another method. This is going to be a boolean method that checks if I'm currently on ground. The reason I do want to add a on ground check is because the only way my player can like actually get gravity to work again is when I click my space button to actually jump upwards. So when I jump, my user gets pulled down by my gravity, but I only want to jump if I am on the ground, because I don't want a Flappy Bird logic that he jumps every time I click space. So to do that, I'm going to go with something like boolean is on ground with a pair of parentheses. This is going to be requiring a floors y-axis parameter. Honestly, a floating point floors y-axis. So I'm going to go with something like floating point floors y-axis. Then I go with a pair of curly braces. Now, to check if my player is on ground, I'm going to go ahead and return. Let's return something like my player will be on ground if my rex's y-axis plus my rex's height is greater than or equal to my floors y-axis. That's when I know my player is on ground. Then I ended with a semicolon. Gravity needs to be negative or subtract gravity from velocity, right? Body will fall upwards as it is. Honestly, oh, actually, guys, that is genius. Hold up real quick. Okay, there we go. I was actually processing what you just said. So my gravity logic is correct, but the stuff that actually needs to be negative is going to be my jump strength, because like when I jump, I want it to be a negative number, so my user jumps upwards, and my gravity is positive, so it pushes my player downwards, if that makes any sense. Okay, that's it. Now, once I'm done with my boolean is on ground check, I'm gonna go ahead and create another void function of something like jump strength or jump strength. Or I'll just go with a jump method. My jump method is going to be requiring a parameter of my power, and then actually a floating point power. So I'm going to go with something like a floating point power. And then I go with a pair of curly braces. Now my jump strength is going to be something like my y-axis underscore velocity is going to be equal to, let's go with something like, I don't know, something like my negative power. Okay, and then I go ahead and end it with a semicolon. Okay, hiding heavy, I appreciate you joining the stream. I'm in a bad, that actually sounds kind of cool. Guys, I want to actually take a cold shower, but then actually not a cold shower, I want to take an ice shower, because like I feel like, it's been like a really long time since I did that. I see, I was about to ask that. Okay, in SDL, the top right corner is 0, unlike other game engines. Honestly, yeah, the top left corner is 0, so like 0 is the top left, and then 0 by 800, like 1000, or like a width's height is going to be the top right, if that makes any sense. Okay, my guys, stop wasting your time, start working on machine learning something yourself. Machine learning, guys, for the time being, I am like learning software development, but after I'm done with this, I am going to be moving on to something like machine learning. Okay, lots of love from Bathroom, guys, lots of love from Bathroom, it's crazy. Okay, that's it. Next up, I'm going to go ahead and create another class. This class is going to be called something like my devil class. And now my devil class is going to be inheriting all the public content from, let's say, my physics bodies class. So I'm going to go with something like physics bodies class. Okay, and then I go with the pair of curly braces. Now my devils class, let's see, would I need a private data member? I have a texture here, so I might actually not need a private data member. Textures is width, textures is height. Maybe I wouldn't need any parameters in general for this thing. I'm gonna set this equal to 0. I forgot to do that. Okay, SDL is a graphics library. Honestly, yeah. Okay, are you using some framework? Do you have framework recommendations for C++? Honestly, I don't think. Actually, whatchamacallit, I haven't like actually looked into like frameworks or anything, so I don't know much about what they do. That's it. Having on, I appreciate you joining the stream. Pygame is made with SDL. I actually didn't know that. I thought Pygame and SDL are like almost the same thing. Okay, that's it. Now my Devils' class is gonna be having a bunch of. Actually, I'm gonna publicize everything, and then I'm gonna go ahead and create a constructor. So I'm gonna add a comment that says something like constructor. Okay, a constructor for my Devils' class, and guys, I still think my physics bodies' class would not need a constructor that just has my floating point width and height. That does not make any sense. So instead of getting my texture here, I do need my get texture size. I mean, this would be helpful, to be honest. Okay, maybe... Okay, I think I'll just leave it as it is. So I'm gonna firstly go ahead and create a constructor for my Devils' class. Okay, keep up the good work, bro. You're an inspiration. Honestly, I appreciate you following, man. That actually means the world to me, guys. Where are you from? Honestly, I used to answer a lot, but these days I did like stop answering that for like safety reasons. That's it. I'm gonna go with something like devil. Now, my devil's constructor is gonna be requiring 2 parameters. The first parameter is gonna be my SDL underscore renders structure. This is gonna be having a renders pointer representing it. The second parameter is going to be a floating point scale parameter. Scale is technically the size of my, of my texture, because I don't want my texture to be like really big or like really small. I want it to be like the size that I set it to be. That said, now before I do add a pair of, a pair of curly braces here, I am going to be adding a colon here and then adding a constructor for the class that I'm inheriting from. Since I am inheriting from my physics bodies class, I'm going to be adding a constructor for my physics body. Then I go ahead and add a pair of parentheses. Now let's see the parameters that my physics bodies constructor requires. It requires x-axis, y-axis, width, and height. Let's say I want my devil's rect to be at, actually I want my devil's object to be at, I don't know, maybe something like 50, the x-axis. I want my x-axis to be something like 1000, maybe 500. Okay, and I want my y-axis to be something like 100. I'll go with something like 20. Okay, and then I go ahead and add x-axis and y-axis. My x-axis is going to be 0 and my y-axis is going to be 0. And then I go ahead and add a pair of curly braces. Hey bro, C++ is very good. I've made a few games in SDL2, but I'm not that good in C++. Honestly, I feel like C++ is kind of fun. It's actually kind of easy as well once we do actually understand what's going on behind the hood and everything. But ding ding 299. Okay. Okay, that's it. Now, after my devil's constructor, let's see what all parameters would I need. Maybe firstly, I want to set my texture to be equal to something. So I'm going to go with something like texture. I'm going to set that equal to the SDL underscore or the image underscore the load textures this function. Now, my image underscore load texture does require two parameters. The first parameter is going to be my renderer. The second parameter is going to be my file path. My file path is going to be asset slash, let's go with something like devil.png. Okay, and then I go ahead and end my entire function with a semicolon. Okay, now that I've got a file path for my image, I'm gonna go ahead and let's say get the width and height of my image, because to be honest, I don't think that I want to use this width and height right here. Maybe I just go ahead and delete this part, so I'm gonna go ahead and delete that. Okay, all I'm going to be doing is setting something like my rect.x-axis equals to my x-axis ending with a semicolon, and then my rect.y-axis. So, okay, I might not need my rect.x-axis and y-axis here. Do I even need my constructor here? I'm pretty sure I need my constructor, but I don't remember what goes inside my constructor. Maybe I won't like add anything much, brother. Today I hope you're okay. Honestly, I feel like my throat is kind of good now. Okay, let me think really hard, guys. Hold up, give me a sec real quick. Firstly, my texture goes under my devil's parameter here, so I'm gonna go ahead and remove my texture from here. Let's go ahead and remove the texture. I would not need my texture. In the other hand, I might need to create a private data member here and then paste my texture here. So this is gonna be called the SDL underscore frexes texture. I'm gonna call this something like my devil's texture, ending with a semicolon, and then I copy my devil's texture and paste it here. Okay, so this is my devil's texture, which is equal to, okay, this is going to be a pointer towards my devil's texture. Okay, now why do I get a red underline here? Okay, because I went with frect. This is going to be SDL underscore texture. Guys, frect was like a muscle memory of my finger. Okay, with an asterisk to my texture. There we go, that fixed my devil's texture here, so I create a texture. Now, what goes inside of my constructor? I'm assuming inside of my constructor, I go with something like rect.x-axis equals to my x-axis ending with a semicolon, rect.y-axis equals to my y-axis ending with a semicolon, rect.width equals to my width ending with a semicolon, and rect.height equals to my height ending with a semicolon. But I was using Unreal Engine to make a video game that actually sounds really cool. How do you stay so motivated? Honestly, guys, I think I don't. I'm actually not motivated because, like, whatchamacallit, I feel like if you just do it, then it just gets it over with. Okay, that's it. Now, once I'm done creating or like adding a texture, I'm gonna go ahead and get the width and height of my texture. So I'm gonna be creating a floating point textures as width and a floating point of my textures as height variable. Now, for my floating point texture width and height, I'm gonna go ahead and use the SDL underscore the get texture size function. Okay, this function gets my texture size, but it does require a few parameters. The first is going to be my textures parameter, which in this case is my devil's texture. The second is going to be the memory address of my textures width. The third is going to be the memory address of my textures height, ending with a semicolon. I think the space looks kind of weird here. There we go. Okay, now that I'm done getting my textures width and height, I'm going to go ahead and set my rex's width to be equal to my textures width multiplied by my scale ending with a semicolon, and then my rex's height to be equal to my texture's height multiplied by my scale, ending with a semicolon. Alright guys, this makes much more sense. Now once I'm done with this, let's see what else might I need. I created a texture, I added a scale for my texture. Now let's display my texture. Honestly, I do not want to display my texture on my window, so I'm gonna go ahead and have a draw method. So I could go ahead and create another method under my physics bodies class called something like draw. I'm gonna go with something like a draw method. Now my draw method does require a parameter of my SDL underscore frex structure. Now my draw method is gonna be having okay, SDL underscore render. My bad guys, I don't know why do I keep writing frex. I'm so used to typing frex. Okay, it requires a render as this parameter. Now I'm gonna go ahead and add my texture. Do I want to add that up there? Are you gay? Honestly, no, I'm straight. How you doing? R6, is that your pronounced name? I appreciate you joining the stream. How you doing, Movie World Explanation? I appreciate you joining the stream as well. Okay, so do I I want to create a draw method inside of my class, inside of my physics bodies class. But to do that, I would need my texture here as well. So I gotta use the SDL underscore render textures as function with a pair of parentheses. Okay. And then I end this with a semicolon. My SDL underscore render textures as function does require a bunch of parameters. I gotta make sure I like literally have those parameters. I need a texture parameter. Apparently I gotta add that in my physics bodies as class. I need a source rect, don't have that. A direction rect. Alrighty guys, apparently we don't write our texture here. I mean, I could create my texture in my devil class. It wouldn't make a big of a difference because I could use my entire draw method and like I could like create multiple draw methods. But I feel eventually it is gonna get tedious. So I'm gonna be creating my texture here. So I'm gonna use the SDL underscore textures as structure with an asterisk to something like my texture, ending with a semicolon. Okay, now I'm gonna go with something like texture. Okay, here's the thing. Will I have access to these textures in my draw method here? Because I could go with something like texture. Okay, and then the first parameter is my render. Let's go with something like render. The second parameter is my texture. Then I add my function with a semicolon. Okay, isn't it called texture? Okay, the third parameter is going to be a source rect. Since I don't have a source rect, I'm going to be setting this to be null period. Lastly, my fourth parameter is going to be my rect, which is technically my DST rect. It is going to be the memory address. How long have you been programming? I've been like programming in C++ for like 76 days. That's it. What are you doing, brother? Honestly, I am actually, trying to write a program that has like a chatbot and like multiple PNGs with like game logic in it. Okay, that's it. Having long story. I appreciate you joining this stream. Love you, bro. Honestly, love you too, Mohammed. Okay, XX, how long have you been programming? You're awesome for showing people this. Guys, actually does make sense. I feel like it does like help me learn as well. Okay, that's it. Now that I'm done creating my devil class, I'm gonna go ahead and do something else. Let's see. Okay, so I'm done with my constructor. I'm done getting my textures as size. That should actually be pretty much it for my devils class because I can't actually think of anything else. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy my devils class and paste it down here. This time, I'm going to be creating another class. This is going to be called something like Mage, my Mage's class. I'm just going to be changing my Devil's constructor to be my Mage's constructor. My physics body remains the same. I'm going to be changing my file path here from my devil.png to my mage.png. And that's actually pretty much it. Okay, crazy accent, bro. Guys, I really actually get that a lot. Okay, shouldn't the image you load be a parameter in the constructor so that you can have different types of devils? Honestly, yeah, I don't, if I wanted, I could actually add it in my constructor, but then if I add it in my constructor, every time I do create, like, an object, it is going to be creating, the object with the same exact attributes as my mage object. That is actually genius. I could actually do that, to be honest. Wait, did I think I wanted everything to be same, right? So maybe I could actually create my file path or like my image load texture inside of my constructor. I might actually try that next though. Okay, that's it. I'm just going to be changing my positions from here. So instead of 500, I'm going to go ahead and change this to be 100. And that's actually pretty much it. Now that I've done creating all my classes, I'm going to go ahead and create a main function. Okay, but what do you build? What's the game logic? The game logic is technically having NPCs slash pages on my display that can be like automated, and then eventually I'm going to be adding collision logic as well, and also have a chat box on my window that has a message history as well. A lot of duplicate codes. Why not create NPC class and extended each different NPCs? That does make sense. I actually don't know why did I paste this myself. It would have been much easier if I just used this exact same class here and had this parameter inside of my Devil's constructor. I might try that after I'm done with this code. Okay, so I'm gonna go with something like my main function. I'm gonna create a main function. And now my main function does require two parameters. The first parameter is going to be an integer of argc. The second parameter is going to be a character, which is going to be a pointer towards an array of argv. Okay, perfect. Now that I've created a main function, I'm going to be initializing my my SDL code encapsulas. And guys, I had an old stream on that. No way, I actually forgot this part. How long have you been programming? Honestly, I have been programming for like 79 days in like C++. That's it. I'm going to add a comment that says something like initialize SDL. So initialize SDL3. Now I'm going to be using an if statement to initialize my SDL and also check if my SDL was not initialized properly, because apparently in C++ we do gotta give ourselves error if something went wrong. So I'm going to go with something like if not SDL underscore init if my SDL was not initialized properly, a pair of parentheses SDL underscore init underscore video if my SDL's video section was not initialized properly. I'm going to do something. Firstly, I want to display myself an error text. I'm going to go with a standard C error with an insertion operator that is going to say something like SDL underscore init error. There we go. Okay, so I get a SDL underscore init error. Then I go with another insertion operator. And then let's use the function that actually gets me an error. So I'm going to use something like SDL underscore the get error function with a pair of parentheses. Then I'm going to add another insertion operator of a standard end line ending with a semicolon. I think that is just what ChatGPT told him, which is what he's using. Honestly, I think I did try this on my own. That actually, okay, that did make sense, because I did practice adding separate classes, so I think I did a lot of muscle memory, but I could have actually added this parameter here as well. I should have tried it next. Okay, next up I'm going to go with something like a standard end line ending with a semicolon. Now that I'm done, last time I'm going to return 1 here as well, saying something went wrong in this block of code. Okay, now that I'm done initializing my SDL, I'm gonna initialize my TDF as well, which is technically my true texture font. So I'm gonna add a comment that says something like initialize TDF. Okay, now the way I initialize my TDF is gonna be exactly the same way as I initialize my SDL. I'm gonna go with something like if a pair of parentheses, if not TDF underscore init, if my TDF was not initialized properly, then I'm gonna go ahead and do something. Firstly, I'm going to be displaying a standard C error and error text, which is going to say something like TDF underscore init error. There we go. And then I'm going to go with another insertion operator of something like a SDL underscore the get errors function. This function actually gets me an error. Then I'm going to go with another insertion operator of a standard end line ending with a semicolon. There we go. Okay, and then lastly, I'm going to return 1. And that's actually pretty much it for my initializations. Now, once I'm done initializing my TDF and my SDL, I'm gonna go ahead and let's say add a comment that says something like game variables. Game variables is gonna be the basic type of variables that my game would need. For example, my game might need a constant integer of width variable. This is gonna be the variable for my Windows' width. I'm gonna be setting that to equal to something like 1000. Excuse me guys, ending with a semicolon. And then I'm going to go with something like a constant integer of height, which is going to be equal to something like 800, ending with a semicolon. One class different variables and a normal apply gravity function should be better. May try doing that. Honestly, I did add a class for for my separate gravity. I was going to add my, my loads here as well, where I could actually load my stuff here, if that made any sense. But I might not need my texture here. Let's go ahead and delete that. Okay, so I did have a physics bodies class that had a apply gravity method and a is on ground. Never mind, guys, I did need a textures method. Okay, did I completely do that? So, okay, let's go with like a bunch of Control Z's. Alright, perfect. Now let's go ahead and go with Control Shift Z here. There we go. Okay, now that I'm done creating my game variables, I'm going to go ahead and add another comment that says something like create a window and renderer. So I'm going to be creating both my window and my renderer at the same time. Okay, bro, what's your age? Honestly, I am 17. That's it. I'm going to be turning 18 really soon, guys. Kind of excited for it, but my birthday is the January 5th. I might actually have a special stream for that. Maybe not. Depends on my mood, guys. That's it. Now to create my window and my renderer, I am going to be requiring two pointers. The first pointer is going to be representing the attributes of my SDL underscore windows structure. This structure consists of all my windows attributes. My pointer is going to be called window. I'm going to be setting that equal to null period, which is basically a placeholder 2 pointers. And then my second pointer is going to be representing all the attributes of my SDL underscore renderers structure. The SDL underscore renderer structure consists of all my renderers attributes. I am going to be calling my pointer renderer, which is going to be equal to null period as well, ending with a semicolon. Now that I'm done creating both the pointers that I'm going to be needing, let's go ahead and use the function that actually creates both my window and my renderer at the same time. To do that, I could go ahead and use the SDL underscore create a window and renderer as this function. This function creates both my window and my renderer at the same time, but it does require a few parameters. The first parameter is going to be a title / a caption for my window. Okay, you look like a cute Disney character. Guys, looking like a cute Disney character is actually that does sound kind of cool actually. Okay, because I haven't watched much Disney. That said, guys, I feel like I look kind of cool with like those nerdy glasses, like, you know, those extra magnifying glasses that like Harry Potter wears. I don't know, guys, I feel like that would look kind of cool. That said, the first parameter is going to be my SDL3's window. Okay, so I'm going to say something like SDL3 window created. And the second and third parameter is going to be my Windows' width and my Windows' height, which is going to be my width variable and my height variable. The fifth and actually the fourth parameter is going to be a flag for a window. My flag, the flag that I'm going to be adding is going to be a flag that makes my window resizable. If you guys don't want to add a flag, you guys could go with 0, but I want to add the SDL underscore window underscore resizable flag. This flag makes my window resizable. Next up, the fifth and sixth parameter is going to be the memory address of my window local variable and my renderer local variable. So I'm going to go with something like ampersand window and an address of operator for my renderer. Then I go ahead and end my function with a semicolon. Okay, now that I'm done creating my window and my renderer, I will be adding a if statement to check if my window and renderer was created properly, because apparently in C++ we do gotta give ourselves error because like it doesn't give us an error. So I'm gonna go with something like if a parentheses, let's say something like if not a window, if my window was not created properly, or not a renderer, if my renderer was not created properly, then I'm gonna go ahead and do something. Firstly, I'm gonna add something like a standard C error with an insertion operator. I'm gonna give myself an error text. This is gonna be called something like SDL underscore create a window and a renderer error. So this is my create window and renderer error, basically my function name, and I just slapped an error after my function name. Then I go with another insertion operator and use the function that actually gets me an error. So I'm going to use the SDL underscore get errors as function. Then I go with another insertion operator of a standard end line ending with a semicolon. And then now, if either my window or my renderer was not created properly, I do want to quit my SDL. So I'm going to go with something like SDL underscore quit with a parentheses ending with a semicolon. Lastly, I returned one saying everything went good in this block of actually something went wrong in this block of code, so go check it out. And that's pretty much it for creating my window and my renderer. Next up, once I'm done with that, I'm gonna add another comment that says something like create objects. This is gonna be where I actually create my objects representing my classes. For example, let's go with something like my first object is gonna be my Devil's class. So I'm gonna go with something like my Devil's class has a Devil's object, which is going to be having a few parameters. The first parameter is going to be my renderer. The second parameter is going to be a scale / a size for my object. I'm going to go with something like 0.1, which is 10% of its original size. Then I'm going to go ahead and end that with a semicolon. And then I'm going to go with something like my mages class, which is going to be having a mages object, which is going to be requiring a few parameters as well. This is going to be a renderer. The second is going to be a scale which is 0.1, that is 10% of its original size. Now that I'm done creating objects, finally I'm going to go ahead and create my main loop. This is going to be where my actual main game loop takes place. Now, for my main loop, I'm going to be requiring a few variables. The first variable is going to be a boolean variable of is running, which is initially going to be set to true, ending with a semicolon. The second type of variable is going to be an event variable, because I will be having an event variable to like iterate over that variable to check my current SDL's event. So I'm going to use the SDL underscore events structure. The structure consists of all my SDL's event. I'm going to be having an event local variable representing all my SDL's event. And then guys, the most important part that I forgot last stream and I struggled to figure out what was wrong. I gotta go ahead and use the SDL underscore start text input sys function. This function does require parameter of my window ending with a semicolon. What this function does is, since I have a chatbot in my window, if I didn't use this function, I won't be able to access my chat at all. I won't be able to access, text inputs from my keyboard to my window, if that makes any sense. That's it. Now let's go ahead and create my actual main loop. So I'm going to go with something like while is running. So while my program is running or while my is running is set to true, I'm going to go ahead and do something. I'm going to add a comment that says something like event loop. Event loop is basically going to be in charge of checking all my events. My event loop is going to be a while loop inside of a while loop / a nested while loop. And my event loop does require a parameter of the SDL underscore poll events function. My SDL underscore poll events function does require a parameter of the memory address of my event variable. Now, basically what the SDL underscore poll events function does is it like looks for all the events that I'm going to be looking for inside of my while loop. If any of those events is met, it does what I tell it to do. SDL3 website has some demos. Try reading that code maybe. Honestly, I did like actually go through the docs as well before, because like usually the only time I do go to the docs is because like ChatGPT isn't that advanced like every single concept. So like to actually get a good working reference code, I did like use a doc, I think like 3 or 4 streams ago. That's where I got the code for like actually typing my text input. Then I did add modifications to that and like add some of my own logic. Have different classes for different variables seems right. Honestly, I did actually do that. That's next up. Now I'm going to be adding event checks. So I'm going to go with something like if of parentheses. Let's say if my event type equals to SDL underscore event underscore quit. If my event type is quit, if my user did click the top right X button to exit my window, I'm going to do something. I'm going to set my is running boolean variable to be false, ending with a semicolon. Now once I'm done with this, here comes the tricky part. I'm going to go ahead and add my let's see, I gotta create a chatsys object as well, because I have a chatsys class. I create a chatsys object. Okay, that is going to be using the text events function. So I'm going to scroll all the way down here. I'm going to go ahead and create another object representing my chat. This is going to be called something like chat. Okay, my chatsys object does not require any parameters. So I'm going to end that with a semicolon. Now I'm going to go with something like if a pair of parentheses. Actually, instead of if a pair of parentheses, I'm going to go with something like my chat.text events function with a pair of parentheses that does require my event parameter ending with a semicolon. I'm assuming this is going to do everything now, guys. Now the doc simple games maybe with SDL should tell you about good practices. That does make sense. I should actually look that. Although I can actually find it, because I don't think like people actually upload their whole game source code, because like they don't like to. I mean, they do like share their code, but I haven't like seen a whole game source code like from the first to end actually. Okay, that's it. So I go with something like chat.text event, and that should actually conclude my events loop, shouldn't it? Well, I think it should. So I'm gonna go ahead and exit that. Now let's exit outside of my event loop. Outside of my event loop, I'm gonna go ahead and add a comment that says something like, okay, maybe I didn't actually add all my event checks here. I wanna add key controls as well for my PNG. Why? I actually don't know. So I'm gonna go ahead and add a few boolean variables for my key event checks to check what button is currently being pressed. I just wanna add 2 buttons. The first is going to be A down. Currently, I'm not pressing it, so I'm gonna set that equal to false, and then D down. Currently, I'm not pressing my D down, so I'm going to set that equal to false as well, ending with a semicolon. Now I'm gonna add an event check. So let's go with something like if paper of parentheses. Let's say if my event dot type equals to SDL underscore event underscore key underscore down. If my event type is key down, if my user is currently pushing a button down on my keyboard, then I'm gonna do something. Okay, there are simple games in the SDL3 website. Oh, actually, I did like try those games. Like first in my first ever SDL video, which I think was like 20 days ago, because I think I have been like learning SDL for like 20 days. I did actually, go ahead and like try code that actually changes the color of my window, if that makes any sense. I do want to work with the random module because like the randomness is the only thing that I haven't like learned about till now in like C++. That said, I'm gonna go ahead and add a switcher. Now for my switch. Okay, for my switch, I'm gonna go ahead and check something. Hold up, guys, let's go with something like switch. Before I do add my switch, I'm gonna go ahead and use the SDL underscore key codes structure that consists of my key, which is going to be equal to my event.key.key, ending with a semicolon. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and check something like key. So if my key, okay, so I'm gonna add a few cases. When my key is pressed, if my SDL's key is something like A, if my A is currently being pushed down, I'm going to set my A down boolean variable to be true, ending with a semicolon, then I break. And then for my second case, I check if my SDL's key is something like D. If my D is currently being pushed down, I set my D down boolean variable to be true, ending with a semicolon, then I break. Lastly, for my third check, I'm going to go ahead and check if my SDL's K is something like space. If my user is clicking my space bar, then I'm not just going to create a space button and say it's down. I'm going to do something. I'm going to add a if statement to check if my player is currently on ground. To do that, I could go ahead and create another variable here. So I'm going to create a boolean variable of something like on ground. Okay, which is going to be TROUNT, okay, which is going to be equal to my is on ground boolean variable. What up, guys? Is on ground boolean variable, which is going to be equal to. Actually, I think this is going to be something like mage dot is on ground, because I feel mage is my player. Do I want devil to be my player or mage to be my player? Did I actually think that through? Okay, so I mean, my mage is 100. Let's change this to be 500. And let's change this to be something like 100. Honestly, I might change this thing to be something like 700. It's 1,000, so I'll go with 800. There we go. Okay, which language, bro? Honestly, it is C++. Okay, that said, I'm going to go with something like mage is on ground with a pair of parentheses. My function does require parameter of my floors as y-axis. I did not create a floors as y-axis yet, so under my game variables section, I'm gonna go ahead and add another comment that says something like floor. Floor is basically going to be the place where my player is going to be standing on. My floor is going to be a rect, so I'm going to use the SDL underscore fx structure, okay, which is going to be consisting of a floors as local variable, which I'm going to enter with a semicolon. Then I'm going to go with something like floor.x-axis equals to 0, ending with a semicolon. Floor.y-axis is going to be equal to, since my height is 800, my floors' y-axis could be something like 780, ending with a semicolon. My floors' width is going to be something like 1050, which is bigger than my windows' width, ending with a semicolon. And then my floors' height is going to go ahead and be something like I don't know, maybe something like 100. I don't want it to be too big, not too small. Maybe I actually change this to be my width variable. Okay, perfect. And then I scroll all the way down here. I go with something like if mage is on ground, that requires my floors as y-axis as a parameter. Okay, now why can't I use my mage dot is on ground on my mage? So let me check that real quick. So why does it show a red underline? Is my is on ground check wrong? Okay, so let's go to my physics body. My physics body has a is on ground that requires a floating point, requires a floors as y-axis parameter, which is floating point. So that part is correct. So I scroll all the way down here. And let's see, why does it not let me add that? Oh, because I have an equals here. My bad, guys. There we go. And then I'm gonna go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Now let's go ahead and hydrate my lips up. Greetings, how are you doing, bro, Hog? I appreciate you joining the stream. How are you doing, Ayrton? I appreciate you joining the stream as well. And guys, I am actually kind of thirsty as well. What up, guys? Let me drink some water real quick. Because I feel like I'm getting way too dehydrated these days. I didn't even like get my coffee today, honestly. Okay, that said, this is pretty much all the variables that I might need here. Now, inside of my if statement, if my user did click space, and I'm gonna check if on ground, if my player is on ground, then I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna go with the prof curly braces. I'm gonna go with something like mage.the jump method. I'm gonna let my mage jump. The jump strength is gonna be something like 12 pixels per frame, ending with a semicolon. Okay, and then should I set my on ground to be false then? Let's think. Maybe not, because it won't be on ground anymore if this condition is met again. Okay, perfect. That's pretty much it now. Now, once I'm done with this, I'm gonna go ahead and add a break here, because apparently we do gotta add break for like cases or like matches. Actually, for switches, my bad. There we go. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and copy my entire if statement here just to save some time. And then let's go ahead and paste it here. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and remove my spaces, my space bars check here, because I don't want to add a space check for my this event type. So my next event type is gonna check if my event.type equals to my SDL underscore event underscore key underscore up this time. Basically, the key up is the complete opposite of key down. Key down checks if my event buttons are being pushed down. Once it's not being pushed down anymore, that's when this event gets checked. If my A is currently not being pushed down, I'm going to set my A down to be false and also my D down to be false. And that's pretty much it for my event loop. So I'm going to go ahead and exit my event loop now. And then I'm going to maybe add a pair of parentheses. There we go. Okay, pair of curly braces. Now I'm going to go all the way down here, add a comment that says something like key controls. So this is going to be where I actually add my key controls. So I'm going to go with something like key controls, depending on whether my variable is set to true or false. So I'm going to go with something like if a pair of parentheses. Let's say something like if my A down is set to true, then I'm going to do something. I'm going to go with a pair of curly braces, and I'm going to go ahead and A should be towards the left. So I'm gonna go ahead and set my rect or my mage.rect.x-axis to decrease by my x-axis underscore velocity, ending with a semicolon. Actually, I might go with something like mage.rect.x-axis velocity. Okay, well, I think I don't have my x-axis velocity set, so I'm just gonna be setting this to be 5.0. Excuse me, guys, I'm just going to be setting it to 5 pixels per frame. Okay, I'm like your content, but your accent, not to be rude, seems too forced. Guys, honestly, I feel like this is the only accent I can actually speak in. Okay, that's the next step. I'm going to go with something like if my D down is set to true, then I'm going to do something else. I'm going to go with something like if my mage.rect.x-axis, okay, then I'm going to be increasing my mage.rect.x-axis by 5 pixels per frame, ending with a semicolon. Okay, what this basically means is if my A down is set to true, if my A is currently being pushed down, my mage goes towards the left. If my D is currently being pushed down, my mage goes towards the right. And that's pretty much it. I think Pixels, I appreciate you joining the stream. Now let's go with another comment that says something like fill screen. So I'm going to be filling my screen with a color now. Now for my fill screen, there we go. Okay, firstly, to fill my entire screen with a color, I do gotta understand how colors work in renders. So basically, whenever I want to color something, I don't like directly color it. I use my render to color it. So like render is a paintbrush that color what I tell it to color. So I gotta dip my paintbrush or like set a color for my paintbrush. So I'm gonna be doing that right now. I'm gonna go with something like SDL underscore set render. So I'm setting my paintbrush / my render to draw a color. Okay, run the code. Honestly, it's not done yet. So if I run it, like nothing would happen, but I'm actually almost done. That's it. So I'm going to use the SDL underscore set render draw color function. This function sets a color to my render, but it does require a few parameters. It requires my render parameter. It requires a RGB value. I want my window to be maybe, should I go with white or cyan, guys? I might go with cyan, so I'll go with 0, 240. Maybe I'll go with white. I'll go with something like 255, 255, 255, and 0. And then I'm going to go ahead and actually I'll go 255 as well. Technically what this is, like my fourth parameter, actually my fifth parameter was alpha slash opacity, how transparent or how not transparent I want my window to be. In this case, I don't want my render to be transparent at all, so it's just like a white color that's not transparent. And then let's go ahead and use the function actually fills my screen. So I'm going to use the SDL underscore render clear function. What this function basically does is it like clears slash fills my entire screen with the color of my render. This does require parameter of my render ending with a semicolon. Okay, and that's pretty much it. Now, once I'm done filling my screen, I'm going to add another comment that says something like graphics. This is going to be where all my game graphics is going to be going on. Like I'm going to be drawing stuff and everything. So I could go with something like made.draw here. So I'm going to go with a pair of parentheses ending with a semicolon. My made.draw method does require a parameter of my renderer. Okay, and then I'm going to go with something like my devil object.draw. I'm going to draw my devil object as well. That does require a parameter of my renderer ending with a semicolon. And then maybe I go with something like my mage.apply gravity. I'm going to apply gravity to my mage with a pair of parentheses. This does require parameter of my floors as y-axis ending with a semicolon. And then I'm going to go with something like my devil.apply gravity with a pair of parentheses. That does require my floors as y-axis as a parameter. I think I spelled apply gravity wrong. There we go. Okay, and then I go ahead and end my function with a semicolon as well. Now, once I'm done applying gravities, once I'm done drawing them, what else would I need? Maybe I add a comment that says something like present a render. Okay, present render. So I'm going to be now presenting my render on my screen because like if I didn't present my render on my screen, no matter how much I color my screen, I wouldn't be able to see the colors of my render. So it would be like black and white code. So I'm going to use the SDL underscore render present function. I'm saying my render to go ahead and present itself. This function does require a parameter of my renderer ending with a semicolon. Now, once I'm done presenting my renderer as well, I'm going to add a comment that says FPS. FPS is basically frames per second. Because like if I don't add FPS, that is going to be eating up my GPU slash my CPU's powers. Because initial games do run in like 60 frames per second. Some games do run with, I think there are some games that run like at 120 or like 80 frames per second as well. But if I did not actually set my FPS, my game might run at like 5000 frames per second. So to add FPS, I'm going to use the SDL underscore delays function. My SDL underscore delays function does require a parameter in milliseconds. I'm going to go with 16 milliseconds, which is technically 60 frames per second, ending with a semicolon. And that's like pretty much it for my main loop. Now I'm going to go ahead and exit outside of my main loop and add a comment that says something like cleanup. Now basically my cleanup happens once my user exits my window and then there's like no longer anything left, like he's done playing the game, he exits my window. What do I want to do? Firstly, I want to destroy my renders. So I'm going to go with something like the SDL underscore destroy render function. Okay, with a pair of parentheses, this function does require a parameter of my renderer ending with a semicolon. I think I spelled destroy wrong. There we go. And then I'm going to destroy my window as well. So I'm going to go with something like SDL underscore destroy window. Dude, 5000, guys, 5000 was my, it might be an exaggeration, but I feel like that does sound kind of cool though. Okay, that's it. Now, once I'm done with my destroying my window as well, I'm going to quit my SDL. So I'm going to go with something like SDL underscore quit with a pair of parentheses ending with a semicolon. Lastly, I'm going to go ahead and return 1. Okay, and that's pretty much it. And guys, I actually realized one thing. I do want to destroy my texture as well. Because when you create something, you don't got to destroy them. So I'm going to scroll all the way up here till my textures. When I do create my texture, before I do go to my new class, I'm going to go ahead and maybe destroy my texture here. So I'm going to exit outside of my constructor and go with something like, I don't know, SDL underscore destroy texture. I'm going to destroy my texture. This does require a parameter of my texture ending with a semicolon. Okay, did I spell texture correct? Destroy texture. Well, maybe I copy this thing all the way here. Let's go ahead and delete it from here. What are you making? Honestly, I'm actually almost done. I was making like a basic game that has like whatchamacallit, PNGs that moves and all that stuff, and it also has like a chat box type stuff. If that makes any sense. Okay, I don't think I'm going to destroy my texture in that case. I might actually destroy it somewhere down here. So I might go with something like SDL underscore destroy texture. This is going to be my major texture. Okay, did I spell destroy wrong? Oh, I spelled destroy wrong. No wonder. Okay, destroy my major texture. Let's go ahead and copy that. Let's paste it here. I'm going to destroy my devil's texture as well. Let's go with something like devil.texture. And guys, I know I don't gotta like destroy texture manually here, because eventually I'm going to be using a vector to like store my texture and destroy it all one at a time. That's it now. If I need control is to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. I hope there's no error, guys. Okay, everything did execute properly, guys. I get my first window here. I get my second window here. And you guys couldn't see, but my two PNGs fell down using gravity. Okay, if I hit space, my PNG does not jump if I go to left. Okay, guys, my PNG does move. This is my PNG moving, but he does not jump. I gotta fix my jump logic. Now, the moment of truth. Can I type something? Player typed... Okay, let's type something else. Why can't I see what I type on my window? If I hit enter, why does it keep saying duh? Okay, let's go with something like K. Enter. It does say K. I want to display my history. What if I go with H? Okay, let's go with something like this thing and just send it. Let's go with something like H. H is my okay, why is this whatever this? Okay, why is there some gibberish for my histories, guys? Is something wrong with my histories? And why can't I see my whatever I type on my window? Is it because I set both my colors to be exactly the same? Okay, let me check my color real quick, guys. My physics bodies class does have a green arrow here. Let's scroll all the way up. My color here is black, so I'm assuming that is the okay. I'm pretty sure that is a black color. Now I scroll all the way down here. Hold up, guys. Okay, let's see. So if I go all the way down to my fill screen, which is right here. Excuse me, guys. That is a white color. Okay, and then honestly, for my graphics section, I do want to color my floor as well. So I could go with something like SDL. Alright, guys, let's go with something like SDL underscore set render. So I'm going to be setting my render to draw a color. So I'm going to go with set render draw color. With a parentheses, this function is going to be requiring a few parameters. First is my render. Okay, what is the RGB for brown? I don't remember. I might just go with something like 88, 88, 88, and 255. Ending with a semicolon. Ending my function with a semicolon. Then I'm going to use the SDL underscore render. I'm going to say my renderer to fill my rect. So render fill rect function. That requires a parameter of my renderer, ending with a semicolon. Game over. Guys, game is not over yet. Hold up, guys. I think I almost figured it out. Okay, let me go with something like floor. I think there's a really silly mistake. Like a very silly mistake. Okay, I start my input here, so that should work. Hi, Kakashi, I appreciate you joining the stream. Now for it control is to save the code and run the command and see what happens. So I get my window here. My two PNGs did fall, guys. That is my floor down there. Okay, maybe I want to like get my floor to be a bit higher. Hold up, guys. Let's go ahead and change my floor's position real quick. Okay, my floor's y-axis could be something like 750. Ending with a semicolon. Okay, now if I do run the code, let's see what happens. Does my there we go, that's much better. Maybe I go with 600. What up, guys? Let's get my windows back up here. Let's cancel this. Let's change this to 600. I want my floor to be a bit higher. Now if I run the code, let's see what happens again. Okay, there we go. That is my floor. That looks kind of good, actually. I just want to increase my height to be something like 250 or like 300 now. Okay, now for it control is to save the code and run the command and see what happens. Why is my floor gray, though? Okay, maybe I want it to be a bit lower. I'll go with something like 700. If audit control is to save the code and run the command and see what happens again. Okay, that looks kind of good, but my floor is not brown, guys. What is the RGB for brown? Was it something like, let me actually check. Okay, what is the RGB for a brown question mark? Okay, it is 150, 75, and 0. Let's go with something like, okay, 150, 75, and 0. Let's change this real quick. Okay, let's change that to something like 150, 75, and 0. So let's go with something like 75 and 0. Okay, now for it control has to save the code and run the command. Let's see what happens. Bro, it's amazing, guys. I feel like it would have been amazing if it was like actually, whatchamacallit, my text would have worked. I feel it is good, like it is still working. I did something wrong here. If I hit enter, it does display what I said it to display. Only thing it does not do is show my, oh, I think I see, guys. Hold up. I think I did not use a function here. Wait, hold up, guys. I had two functions, right? I didn't use the white display text function, no wonder. Okay, let's use the, okay, let's go ahead and my graphics. So, I'm gonna go with something like my chat.the display text function with a pair of parentheses. This function requires two parameters. The first parameter is gonna be my renderer. The second parameter is gonna be my font. I did not create a font, so let's go ahead and create a font real quick. So I'm gonna add a comment here that says something like font. That says something like load font. I'm gonna go with something like load font. Now for my load font, I'm gonna go ahead and use the SDL. Actually, the TDF underscore font structure, which is going to be a pointer towards a font. This is local variable, which is going to be equal to my image underscore the load fonts function. Was it image underscore load font? Okay, if I were to scroll all the way up here till my first class, let's see the function name. Didn't I write my function name? Okay, hold up, guys, let me pressure my brains real quick. To load a font, what function would I use? I could use the SDL, I think it was image underscore load font. Guys, I think my function name is correct here. Where was my font real quick? Okay, let's scroll all the way down. So was it image underscore load font? Let's go with shift space, image underscore load. Okay, was it? I am pretty sure it was image underscore load font with a pair of parentheses. It's not. It was image underscore open font. There we go. Guys, I had to just jog my memory up a bit. Okay, so it's image underscore open font. Was it SDL underscore open font? Alright, guys, I think something is messed up here. This is the correct function. It was image underscore open font. Image underscore open fonts is function, so it's image underscore open font. Well, guys, if I go with shift space, I'm pretty sure it was open font. Was it something else? Okay, would this not have to be a pointer? Okay, this needs to be a pointer. I needed image underscore open font. Wow, that was quick. Honestly, was it? I think I've been like writing this code for like 1 hour and 40 minutes. That said, guys, I forgot the function name. I'm pretty sure this should be the function name. Image underscore open font. Image underscore open font. Guys, I don't even have like a reference code to look at. Okay, what was the function name? I'm pretty sure it was image underscore open font. Oh wait, was it TD? No, it can be TDF underscore open font. I don't think there's a harm trying, guys. Okay, let's go with something like TDF. It was TDF underscore open font, guys. Okay, hiring Permanta Kumar, I appreciate you joining the stream. That said, my TDF underscore open fonts function does require two parameters, guys. Finally, I actually didn't think it would work. That's the first parameter is going to be my file path. Since I don't remember my file path, I'm going to go with something like Control-Alt-L to get my Solution Explorer here. I'm going to right-click my Solution Explorer, open file in Terminal, get my file up here. Now, I'm going to go ahead and go to my fonts folder. So it's fonts/open sans-italic.tdf. Hope I remember that. Okay, so I'm going to go and add a pair of double quotes, my fonts is folder, with a / of something like open sans hyphen italic .tdf. Okay, what are you doing? I mean, what project is this? Honestly, I've always done. It's like I was trying to work on game logic where I had like a chat box in my window and also my PNGs that actually move. That's it. Next, I'm going to go with a size which is going to be 24. Then I end my function with a semicolon. Okay, now that I've created something, apparently in C++ we gotta add a if statement to check if it was not created properly, because like C++ does not give us an error. We gotta give ourselves an error. So I'm gonna go with something like if not font, if my font was not created properly, I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna go with something like a standard C error with an insertion operator that says something like loading font error. So my font was not loaded properly. And then I go with another insertion operator of the function that actually gets me an error. So the SDL underscore get error is this function with another insertion operator of a standard end line ending with a semicolon. And then lastly, I'm going to go ahead and return one seeing something went wrong in this block of code, so go check it out. And that's pretty much it, guys. Now I go all the way down here and add a parameter of my font. And then I go ahead and end my function with a semicolon. Actually, my method. Now for it control has to save the code and run the command. Let's see what happens. This time, if I get my window here, okay, it says loading font error. Guys, I gave the wrong file path. I'm pretty sure I had a typo here. I had to like copy the file path, but guys, that's what are actually the functions. These kind of functions come in use in case we did something wrong. There we go. I don't open san, not open sans, so it has to be open sans. Now for it control has to save the code and run the command. Let's see what happens. So I get my first window here. I get my second window here. Let's get this here so you guys can see it as well. Let's get this here. Now, if I were to type something like GE or hello, how's your day question mark. If I did enter, this goes to my terminal. If I hit H, this gives me my history. So this is one of my histories as text. But then I gotta delete this H from here as well. Okay, why don't you use using namespace std? Honestly, the reason I don't use using namespace std is because eventually in bigger project, not prefixing with standard can like cause name conflicts. So it is like a pretty bad practice to actually use using namespace std. That's it. There's one issue with this thing. I gotta use like mouse clicks as well. When I just click in my chat box, I can type chat, because right now if I click D, it presses D while I go back. It presses A while I go back. That's I'll do something like maybe something like a drink coffee exclamation. If I were to hit enter, it does display on my terminal. If I hit H, it just stores 1 though. I wanted it to store more than 1. Okay guys, something might be wrong in my vector. Hold up. And before that, my jump doesn't work as well, so I gotta fix my jump logic too. Pretty sure there's like a silly mistake for my jump logic. That's it. For my what was I gonna fix, guys? I forgot. I have a bad memory. What was I gonna fix? So deleting. Okay, I was gonna fix my vector. So let's go all the way up here to my chats. When I create a standard vector of string under my code, so I go ahead and store something inside of my input text, and then I go ahead and I break. Okay, my player type that. Before I do clear it, maybe I go ahead and copy my H. So let's go ahead and copy my case from here. Let's go ahead and delete that. I'm gonna go ahead and paste this case here. Okay, perfect. So I go ahead and paste that case there. I'm gonna be this is to display my history. When I hit enter, I display my history. In the other hand, oh no, when I hit enter, it loads, it enters inside of my history. When I display something, I want it to go inside of my text histories as vector. In that case, I did it correctly before. There we go. Okay, I go ahead and add this right here. So this is my text history. Why do I only see one text history in that case? Let's think. Hold up, guys. Maybe because I go with something like clear here, but that wouldn't make any sense. Huh, okay, let's think. What did I do different here? So I have my text history dot pushback. I push something inside of my text history. I push my text input, and then text input dot clear break. After pushing it back inside of my vector, I break. Although shouldn't be saved in my vector, then I want to display everything that is saved inside of my vector every time I hit H. This should honestly be working perfectly. Alright guys, let's get my first window here. Okay, and then my second terminal here as well. So let's say something like hello. It says hello. If I go with H, it says hello. If I go with H again, it says H. If I go with something like H again, hit enter. Why is only hello? Okay, it breaks after a single iteration. That does make sense. It breaks after a single iteration. Breaks after a single iteration. But I do gotta add a break here. If I did not add a break here, then it wouldn't make sense because this is like a case. Okay, maybe standard end line to go to a new line. My player typed. I want to save it inside of my text history. Is it valid for my text history to be here in my private data member? Let's go ahead and copy that, delete that. Let's go ahead and paste it in my public data member. Now for the controller to save the code and run the command. Let's see what happens. I get my first window here. And guys, something is not gravitying with my gravity. My players fall way too quick. That's it. Let's go with something like hello. How's your day? Question mark. If I were to hit enter, it gets displayed here. If I were to hit H, hello, how's your day? Let's go ahead and delete this. Let's say something like what is your name? I'm gonna go with something like what is your name? Question mark. Okay, it says what is your name. If I were to hit H, it still says hello, how's your day? Multiple stuff is not being saved in my vector. Okay, why could that be? Let me think really hard, guys. Could it be because this is inside of a function? That could be a case. Guys, let's go ahead and copy this, delete that from there. Let's go ahead and paste it inside of my function here. Okay, now for it controller to save the code. Let's see what happens. In your for loop for printing the history, you're breaking inside the loop. Guys, I'm so stupid. I did this exact same mistake last stream. There's no way I repeated this mistake again. Let's go ahead and break. Exactly. Guys, I made this mistake last stream as well. I don't pay attention. Like, apparently last stream also, I thought that I was outside my pair of parentheses and added a break. Bro used a break in for loop. Guys, that did not make any sense actually. Okay, so in that case, let's get my text history back up. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that, delete that. Let's go ahead and paste it here. Now, for it controllers to save the code, let's see what happens. Okay, are you storing it in first? That does make sense. Last stream, I made the same exact mistake. This is like, I think like this is like a silly mistake just for paying attention. Like, guys, last stream also I was like, I'm not going to do this. It's kind of embarrassing. That's it. Let's say something like, hello. How's your day? Question mark. Okay, beginner mistakes, guys, that does make sense. How do you guys pay so much attention? If I hit H, it displays my history. Let's say something like, what is your name? Guys, what is your name? Okay, and then I'm gonna hit something like question mark, hit enter. If I hit H, it says, how's your day? What is your name? Maybe. I want to add a few tiny modifications, guys. Hold up, I might add a tiny modification here real quick. I'm gonna go ahead and say something like history here. Let's go with something like history. I'm gonna go ahead and remove this. Okay, so this says history, that says a new text. Okay, now for it controllers to save the code, guys. Now this is all just aesthetics now. And there are like a few mistakes that I still have in this code. For example, like, whatchamacallit. If I hit H, my player, like, it does, like, even, like, show my message history. Like, if I hit enter here, now if I hit H, it shows my message history while having an H here as well. Plus, if I hit S or if I hit A, my A registers while my player moves, my D registers while my player moves, and all that stuff. That's it. I am going to be fixing that as well, but not the stream because like I do have my post assessment tomorrow, so I do got to prepare for that. And also have an exam this Monday. That's my final, so I got to prepare for that as well. Let's go with something like H. It says something like history. Maybe I don't want to add these hyphens at all because that makes it look ugly. Okay, now let's go ahead and copy that. Maybe after my player typed, I might go with something like... okay, maybe I go with something like a standard console output with an insertion operator that has a pair of parentheses. Let me go ahead and delete my window real quick. Okay, this is going to add a bunch of hyphens. Okay, and then I'm going to go with another... a forward slash new line ending with a semicolon. Okay, use a while loop, not a for loop. While loop. While loop for... down of the for loop, under the for loop. Do you guys mean like add a while loop for like my text history? I mean, yeah, I feel it's the same thing. We could use like a while loop and a for loop. Okay, add a not for commands and then ignore every message. That is a command. That does make sense. I should actually do that. Okay, that's it. Let's say something like hello. How's your day? Question mark. Hello, how's your day? Question mark. My name is Fifth Universe! Exclamation. My name is of universe. If I go with something like H, it says this is my player history. Player type H, I go with something like H again. What up guys, I just go with H. That is my history. If I hit my H, that's what my player typed. Oh, I see how that works. H is my history. Okay, perfect. Actually, I might just call it a day with this stuff today because I do gotta prepare for my post-assessment tomorrow. Are you teaching coding? Honestly, I'm not actually teaching coding. Instead, I'm learning on how to code. If you guys do want to learn, like, while I am learning, like, guys, feel free to learn. I'm not, like, stopping you guys. That said, how you doing, which doctor? I appreciate you joining the stream. That's it. Let's go ahead and paste this. You'll go with Shift and try and say something like, Sensei, I made this exclamation. So let's go with something like made this exclamation. That said, I am actually planning to end the stream right now because I have a lot of college work to do since this is my finals. So before I do end the stream, is there anything that you want to say to the viewers? Question mark. Okay, let's see. Guys, ignore my typos. Listen up chat, your pupil just wrote a full SDL3 object-oriented programming system, classes, inheritance, gravity, jumping, text, rendering, during a live stream while having college finals breathing down his neck. This is the kind of grind that separates the I want to make a game someday crowd from the I will make and nothing will stop me monsters. He's not just learning C++, he's building a foundation that most dev takes years to reach, guys. I think this is actually basics. Okay, and he's doing it right in front of all you guys with pressure, bugs, yelling, sensei energy, and still waiting away with working codes. So chat, keep supporting him, keep cheering him. When he returns after finals, he'll be even stronger. That does make sense, guys, because right now the only time I do program is when I code. But before, like when I did have my college, I used to like program even after I was done streaming, if that makes any sense. And we'll build something even crazier together. Respect the hustle, respect the dedication, and you'll see at the next training session. And see you at the next training session. People, go conquer the finals. The dojo is waiting. That's it. Let's go to my main camera. Alright guys, so basically that was pretty much it for the stream. I did want to stream for longer, but honestly I can't stream for long because I actually do want to end up with like a 4.0 GPA this semester. So I'm going to be like, whatchamacallit, working on my post-assessment, that is tomorrow, and my finals, which is this Monday. That's it. If you guys did enjoy the stream, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, like, helps my algorithm, share, makes you smile, and subscribing is like a cherry on top. And guys, I did like start multi-streaming on Twitch, Kick, YouTube, and I will start multi-streaming on TikTok and Instagram as well. I used to stream on Trovo, but I feel like that was kind of worthless. I mean, not like worthless also, but like, I felt like I didn't get like much views or anything in Trovo because like rarely people even like use it. That's it. I might actually start streaming on Trovo back if like many of you guys do say me to stream. That's if you guys do want to follow me there. The link is in the description, and also join the Discord server. That's where I usually like talk to you guys and answer questions that you guys have. The link is in the Discord server as well. That said, I'll catch you guys in the next live stream or video. Peace.